Without sleep, all of our efforts for beauty, for anti-aging, for weight loss, for immune boosting, they're all marginally effective. And this is really the take-home point, right? That we're doing all of these amazing things, but it's almost like working on the really amazing things without mastering the basics. And sleep is one of these things that's so basic and so foundational. So without it, all of the efforts that you're taking, and a lot of us are doing tremendous efforts, they are being marginally effective. And so when should we sleep? Well, ideally, we go to bed between 9 and 11 at night. And there's lots of reasons, and we don't have time to talk about it at length, but the reason we go to bed at that time is because the hours before midnight are doubly restorative. How many of you notice that if you sleep from 10 to 6, you feel a whole lot better than if you sleep from 12 until 8? How many people have noticed that? Huge, huge, huge difference. And this is actually something I made a commitment to myself in preparing for this weekend, that even though I wasn't ready, even though we had all these preparations to do, if I can go to bed earlier, it sets us up to have much more energy in the morning. Now here's the rub, okay? So I've spent all this time, and we've been silly, and we've been having fun, talking about how important sleep is. But the reality is, just because we know it doesn't mean that we can sleep well. And this is where we're really challenged. Because according to a recent poll, 65% of Americans say that they experience sleep problems at least a few times each week. And so we might have the best of intentions, we want to sleep, we're going to bed early, but we just can't sleep. And so the question is why, because this is a big deal. Now that we see how fundamental sleep is to our well-being, why aren't we sleeping? The number one reason we're not sleeping is pain, you guys. It's pain. People hurt at night. So pain, inflammation, stress, anxiety is number 2. It's a biggie. Hormones we talked about. But what about frequent urination? Getting up to pee. That's a huge deal. And then sleep apnea, not being able to breathe. So this is where we need to look. And I know that it's much more exciting to talk about exotic things that grow in different places. I know that sleep is such a fundamental thing that we really have to work hard to make this interesting. But we need to look here. What can we do about these things? Because if sleep is so foundational for us that nothing else in our life is going to work, until we take care of these things, it doesn't matter what else you do. You get that, right? It doesn't matter all the other amazing things. Until you take care of this, anything else you do isn't going to be as effective as it could. Okay, so this is where we're going to have a conversation around what is the easiest thing that we can do for these things, because that's what I'm committed to. There's lots of ways that you can decrease stress and anxiety and balance hormones and all these things, but I'm interested in the simplest thing that's available to everybody on the planet, that works for everybody. That's right, and is effective in every single human being. And we're going to talk about it. Okay, so pain. Chronic inflammation is probably the most important thing that you can understand how your body works. There's lots of different mechanisms that can happen in our body, but chronic inflammation may be the engine, the driver behind most of our ills, most of our challenges. And so earthing, the reason I keep coming back to this, it's not like earthing is the only thing, but here's the thing. Earthing actually received a patent for preventing and reducing inflammation. It's so effective. So I want to just get an experience. So we're going to just start in just a second. I'm going to actually grab some experiences from the room of what's happening. This is a picture of before we earth. And you can see, and we're not going to take a long time to go through the science, but you can see how hot and inflamed you are before. Red on thermography is hot, it's heat, it's pain. Here are the knees and the back. After just 30 minutes, you can see that inflammation wipes out. But I want you to understand this, because if you get this, then you get the whole story. You get the whole Megillah of what this whole phenomenon is about. What is inflammation? Because we just gloss over it like, yeah, I know what inflammation is. Inflammation is the immune system's natural response to an injury. And so what we make are free radicals. Now, how many people thought free radicals were bad? Isn't that what we're fighting? How many people have heard that free radicals are bad? That we're fighting them, right? What do we fight free radicals with? Antioxidants, right. Free radicals are actually great. Without them, we would die. Free radicals are completely natural. They are the cleaner-uppers in our body. So what happens is when we have an injury, when we have something that needs to be destroyed, free radicals are created, and so they go ahead and start mopping up their job. But what happens is to tell them to stop, we use electrons. So you can think of electrons as the fire extinguisher to put the fire out. So the free radical creates a fire to burn out whatever's there, and then we use electrons to put the fire out, okay? Electrons are what antioxidants are. Antioxidants are nothing more than a substance that has an extra electron. Now you can get this. Don't let the word electron get you concerned. We can really all understand this. So what you need to understand is that free radicals are good guys gone bad. And so when we don't have enough electrons to tell the free radicals to stop, we get this chronic burning, this chronic inflammation in every part of our body. And so what that looks like is arthritis. What that looks like is hepatitis. What that looks like is colitis. And what other itises do we have? What other itises? We've got pancreatitis. We've got meningitis. We've got colitis. We've got tendinitis. We've got all of these itises, right? And it's not just the itises. It's also all of our autoimmune diseases. These are all inflammatory based. We've got multiple sclerosis. We've got chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, diabetes, you name it. At the root of it is inflammation. So as we're having this conversation, I want you to listen through that knowledge base, that no matter what it is that a human body is having a hard time recovering from, inflammation is most likely part of that conversation. And so this is as simple as it gets. If you have an electron deficiency, which means you have an antioxidant deficiency, you are going to have chronic inflammation. If you have enough electrons, it's almost impossible to have inflammation. And I know that sounds wild, but here's the thing. This is what I'm finding in my practice. When people have chronic pain, when they have chronic anything going on, if you consistently connect to the earth, you're flooding your body with electrons, right? If your pain is still around, that doesn't mean that it didn't work for you. What it means is that there's something other than just chronic inflammation causing an issue in your body. Okay, so let's say that your shoulder is hurting, and let's say you put an earthing patch on it for 30 minutes, and it goes down by 50%. That's great. If you do it over 3 months and it's still hurting, what that's telling you is there might actually be something physically out of alignment or causing an issue structurally that you need to get addressed. So that's something for you veterans out there you want to keep in mind. Then that means that you need to look beyond just inflammation with what's going on with any of your pains or your illnesses. Okay, so in order to get inflammation under control, we need to have an abundant supply of antioxidants. And antioxidants are just a fancy name for, they're an electron donor. They're an electron donor. So nice to see you. So where do we get electrons? Where do we get antioxidants from? Where do we think about getting an antioxidant? We get it through, go ahead, raise your hand. We get antioxidants. Name a good antioxidant. What's a great antioxidant? Blueberries, great antioxidant. What's another great antioxidant? Cacao. What else? Glutathione. Extra credit for you. Now, how old are you?
13.
How amazing is it that a 13-year-old knows that glutathione is an antioxidant? Round of applause for you. Are you here with your mom or dad? Are you here with your mom or dad? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yay, mama, is exactly right. Okay, other great antioxidants. What do we got? We got what? Alpha-lipoic acid. What about things? So we get antioxidants through things we eat, through supplements we take, right? That's how we've been trained to get antioxidants. Okay, but my question is, where is the largest source of free antioxidants? The earth, that's right. The largest source of free antioxidants is the earth itself. Okay, so second reason we're not sleeping is stress. And this is a biggie. Now, again, lots of brilliant things that we can do to help relieve stress. And I do lots of other amazing things to reduce stress. But one thing we don't think about, and that's why I'm going to share it with you, is just simply reconnecting to the earth. Now, this all comes back to cortisol. How many people have heard of cortisol? Okay, and we think of cortisol in relationship to stress, or a lot of us have been fed that cortisol is related to belly fat, right? Because everyone's trying to lose weight. Cortisol, one of the main things it does is actually regulates sleep. And a lot of people don't realize that. And so ideally what happens is that we wake up, cortisol starts to wake up at 4 a.m., and it starts to slowly rise. And this is what gets us up out of bed in the morning. So naturally, it's supposed to wake us up. And then it goes down over the day. So it starts to drop off at 10 o'clock at night. That's what it's supposed to look like. Now, for most of us, and this is a study we did, it's anything but that, right? Most of us, it's really low in the morning. And that's why we have to drag ourselves out of bed, or we need coffee, or we need something to get us going. And then at night, it's all jacked up. It's still really high, and that's why we can't wind down at night. Now, here's what's amazing, and this is the study that, for me personally, really opened my eyes to earthing, because I was looking really fundamentally at, first of all, what kind of a difference does this make in people's lives, but then to look at the science behind it, and this was the one that totally took my breath away, and here's why. Here's before earthing, they're all over the place. After earthing, do you see how almost everyone comes into the same rhythm? Almost everyone is the same. Now, interestingly, we have two lines that aren't. Those people were monks, I believe. They meditated, and so they were waking up at 3 in the morning, so their whole cycle was off. So FYI, anyone doing research, don't allow monks into your research. It screws it all up. But what's profound is that it all came into sync, into harmony. And this is where it gave me goosebumps. I have them right now. Because it tells us there is a bigger intelligence happening here. Because how can human beings from all over, these people were from different places, some of them were flying back and forth, how can they all come into perfect sync with one another by just sleeping connected to the earth? What does that mean our cueing mechanism for our body must be? What's happening at 4 a.m.? Is there light? Well, maybe in Alaska. Where's Steve? In Alaska, there might be light. But is there any light at 4 a.m.? There's not. And so what we see and what we propose is that actually the earth itself is the cueing mechanism. We are designed to be in connection with the earth. And when we sleep connected to the earth, when we live connected to the earth, our body comes in alignment with this intelligence that coordinates and orchestrates all of the complex cycles in our body. And what's amazing to see is that, we'll talk about hormones in a second, especially women's bodies. Our bodies, they are crying to be connected to the earth. If you have hormonal issues, and again, earthing products, they don't do anything. They are extension cords. We need to be connected to the earth. Get your feet outside on that ground. Get yourself connected to the earth while you sleep, whatever you need to do, but what you're going to find is that hormones dramatically shift.